Welcome to session 3 of Growing Leaders. This session is called Clarifying Call. I want to again remind us of what the aims are of the session, give an overview of how it works, and then ask Lorraine for some practical pointers. The aims of session 3, Clarifying Call, are to continue to develop relationships within the group. I know we keep going on about this, but it is vital to how we grow leaders, to do it within a good, honest, vulnerable community. Secondly, we want to make clear the Bible doesn't restrict God's call to certain types of people. Thirdly, to offer ways for participants to further discern God's call on their life. We use a particular tool to do that. And the fourth aim is to encourage participants to base their leadership on a surrendered personal life to Jesus. So let me overview the session. The thinking behind this session is that so many people think call is restricted to a few, monks, missionaries and ministers. Whereas actually, if we take the Bible seriously, we see that call is for everyone. Everyone is called into a relationship with Jesus Christ, and then to work out what their particular discipleship of Jesus looks like, given the context in which they find themselves, the way God's wired them up, and all those other factors. And we also want to encourage people to find the particulars of that call through use of a tool that we call a personal life statement. So the way the session runs is we begin by exploring call in terms of both the primary calling to discipleship and secondary calling to the particulars of how we live that discipleship out ourselves. And we want to then suggest that the goal for a Christian is not somehow a balanced life, popular as that concept might be in society today. No, the starting place for a Christian is a surrendered life to Jesus that leads to that promise that Jesus offers of an abundant life. And that abundant life is through a blended life, where we place God at the center and blend all the different aspects of call around our central commitment to Him. And the tool, the personal leadership statement, is a means of doing that, and it will take quite some time for the participants to work on it over the next few months of the course. And in this particular session, we introduce them to 5 steps that will help them to start the process. Please, let's remember as we go into this session 2 things that we need to be avoiding when we talk about call. We need to avoid the idea that call is limited only to middle-class vocations or to middle-class professionals, certain types of job. As we've said, it's for all people. And secondly, let's avoid the idea that somehow call is an amazing experience, writing on the wall, a voice from God, something extraordinary happening. That does occur for a few people. But for the vast majority, call is a process, gradual, over time. And I want to ask Lorraine a little bit about her experience of how she's discerned more clearly God's call on her life. Lorraine, how's the process been for you?
Well, my experience has been a real gradual process of listening to God and praying and really discerning what it is that I'm being called to. And to me, it's about taking courage and taking steps.
And an ongoing journey, presumably, still to this day.
Totally, totally. Yeah. And a real act of trusting, especially when those steps lead you to places that feel scary.
Great. So, practical pointers for running this 3rd session. What do you want to start us with?
Well, one of the main ones is about prayer and reflection. This, out of any other, you need to actually make sure you have the time for prayer and reflection. So people really hear and listen to what God might be saying there and then about their call on their life. Number 1.
And in terms of supporting material that might help people with some of the exercises?
The best thing to do, particularly when you're looking at shape, in the example of shape, is to get them, if you can, if it's relevant for them, to look at the purpose-driven life, and it will go into far more detail, and a great supporting book. Excellent.
And in terms of how this works out in terms of call, work, life, church, how's your experience been of that?
I think not to look at this material just for the context of calling leaders into the church work. We had somebody on our course who was in a role where they were looking to take on more responsibility, didn't know whether it was the right thing or not, had a real sense of calling about moving into that leadership position, and now is using the growing leader's gifts and material, if you like, in that role, and being a servant leader in that workplace.
That's great to hear. Thank you, Lorraine. So here we are. That's session 3 of Growing Leaders, Clarifying Call. At this point, there are just a couple of wider things to consider. It will be worth checking out how the mentoring is going. Maybe you do that through email or through actually gathering all the mentors together and giving them an opportunity to talk about their own experience and to bring encouragement and support to them. Also, don't forget to find out how people are getting on with their spiritual MOT. That's a fabulous opportunity to explore where they are in their relationship with God. And do remember also to encourage the wider church to be praying for the participants, because we long for God to be at work in people's lives. So at this point, give some attention to those wider issues. It'll just help with the flow of the course. And as we come to this part, don't forget, even though some people may find aspects of the course hard work, even a struggle, this is all about looking for ways in which God can grow leaders to help grow churches.